Hello, good morning, everybody. Thank you for coming. I was set the task of explaining, particularly the newcomers, what RRI is. It's a very difficult task, and I hope not setting you to sleep in the next 5 minutes. RRI is not easy to explain. It leads to many confusions. I promise that in the end, you will not be confused. I just ask for your attention and patience to try to address this issue. Well, RRI is, like everything else, something that attracts love and hate. If you circulate among European projects that deal with RRI, you can find fanatics of RRI who would name their children RRI if we would let them. You find people that hate RRI, and there are many reasons for that. One of those is the name. It's a very complicated name to say in English. Imagine other people not native in English saying RRI. It's really, really difficult. It's even worse if you try to translate it. Sometimes in Portuguese, for example, it looks like you are opening a door that needs some oil. It goes like inovação, investigação, responsáveis. So with a name like this, it's very difficult to disseminate. What we have been discussing yesterday, for example, was the plan of advocacy and dissemination of RRI, which includes, for example, having meetings with ministries and policymakers and deputies, etc. And as I was listening to this, I was already imagining this dialogue from Ciência Viva calling the Ministry of Education and saying, "Olá, this is the Portuguese hub." What? Hub? Yes, the Portuguese hub. And what do you need? What's your subject? Well, it's about RRI. What? RRI, say it again. Well, RRI, it's responsible research and innovation. So, what? We are all responsible here at the Ministry of Science, so we don't want to buy your product. Please disconnect the phone. That might very well happen. But, in fact, RRI might be something that comes between ourselves and the Mad Max world in which we are about to live. Because, as has been said already, science and technology has and makes wonders. It makes miracles. It can put people that don't walk, walking. They can make the blind see. They can make us live long. They make us talk to everybody in the world. It opens perspectives that are really, really wonderful. But at the same time, and especially in modern societies, and especially in Europe, a certain feeling of unrest, a certain feeling of mistrust in relation to all these wonders is growing. And no wonder why. We are fed in the media all the time about the invasion of privacy, about drones flying over the place taking photos, about Google glasses filming us and posting us where we don't know where. We don't know if machines will take our jobs, and they actually do. We are all the time being bombarded with algorithms that rule our world and that we think are there for the best, but it's not that easy. Let me just give you an example of one of those algorithms. When now you go to Google or you go to any Amazon.com shop, any site, and they tell you, well, you know, people who bought this book that you have bought already read this and this book. And you say, oh, they are making our life really easy. But what's happening is that they are killing cultural diversity because they are putting us in ideological bubbles. We are being protected from those who think not like we do. Because what we should also have is this, well, you know, you bought this soap book, this awful literature, but you can read James Joyce. No, it doesn't happen that. They give you another soap book. And as time goes by, we only are acquainted with what we like and what is to be sold to us. So all these things are building up. And people think, well, what kind of a world are we going to live in? And so this means that we actually need responsible research. We actually need responsible innovation. And so I am one of those who believe that RRI is really important. But now, what is it? That's another problem, really, really huge problem. You know, there was this Lao Tzu, a philosopher in China, 2,000 years ago or more. He wrote the Tao Te Ching, a book in which Buddhism and Zen built upon. The first sentence of the Tao Te Ching says, the conflict between right and wrong is the disease of the mind. In our case, the conflict of the right RRI and the wrong RRI is the disease of our project. And I will try to show you or explain you what is, in fact, the right RRI and the wrong RRI, and that will be a bit difficult. Well, one of the things that is said about RRI is that it has several dimensions. And we will see this is meant to help us understand it, but only adds to the confusion. So we say that RRI is something that encompasses science education. Okay, good. I know what science education is. It also is about science communication and public engagement. Oh, yes, I know what that is, so I know what RRI is. It's also about science policy, open access to scientific information, about gender inclusiveness. Of course, we all know what that is, so we are all experts in RRI. And so in our science centers, we say, okay, I'm having a hands-on activity with young kids. I'm doing science education, so I'm doing RRI. No, we are not doing RRI. We do science communication and public engagement in our science centers all the time. And so we say, so we are doing RRI. But actually, we are not. And I will try to explain why it happens like that. Because actually, of course, science education, public engagement, gender inclusiveness have been around all the time. So what is the difference? Well, the difference is that when you do science education, and you should be aware that your kids should not dissect frogs like that, should not just go and pick up the spiders, bring them to the lab, take them away from their environment. They should maybe research them in their own environment. Also, the kids should learn about addressing science critically, should learn about learning the impacts of science and not just only learning about scientific knowledge. When you do science education in a science center or in a school and you address these issues, you are building a child that will become a responsible researcher later. So that's doing RRI in science education. And when you talk about science communication, of course, we have been doing that for ages, since the 19th century. But the problem here is that we have to move from the popularization of science to participation in science. And that's the key difference. So it's not just about doing science communication. It's about involving the people. It's not just telling them about science. It's not just telling them the results of scientific research. It's about involving them in the beginning of the research. And that's very critical, because then we say, how can people who are not acquainted with science have a say in what we are researching? And that's the challenge. The challenge is doing science communication and public engagement in the early stages of research and not in the final ones. So if you would think what would be a perfect RRI project, well, in my view, a project like that, let us see an example. Imagine that we are researching diversity in biology in the sea, in the seashore near the beach. Okay, we can just go there, count the crabs, the shrimps, bring them to the lab, do all the scientific data, work this data out, and publish the results, and we are all happy. But the problem is that there are fishermen there, and they pick up the crabs, they pick up the shrimps, and they are afraid that the scientific information might put them out of business. Also, there are hotels, and the hotels want to keep the people in the beaches. The people in the beaches like to go in their boats. The boats will disturb the shrimps and the crabs. Also, the local council is worried, because then the fishermen will be out of job. And then the tourists will not come to the hotel. And then they will not have the taxis. So they are also involved in the problem. So if you do research turning your back to all these people, you will be in trouble. So doing RRI is doing research and doing innovation. But first of all, thinking, who might be impacted by what I'm doing as a researcher? Who might be interrupting or might need to participate in this? And so you must identify them. And then you must know how to consult them. And for that, you need methodologies of focus groups. You need methodologies of structured dialogue. You need methodologies that allow you to really, in an organized way, involve these people. So that would be an RRI project that pushes all the buttons. And now, what are we all doing here? I hope that you expect to see and to debate here these perfect examples of RRI. You will not, because those are absolutely rare examples. What you will see here are experiences that we should follow, experiences that address part of RRI. So we will have all these 19 hubs that have been doing consultation all over Europe last year. They heard more than 400 stakeholders from education, policy making, from research, from industry. They picked up some examples, so we have something like 180 examples that are shown here in the atrium and are going to be discussed and debated here. And we will follow these examples and try to learn from them. Just to finish now, I would like to call your attention to our hub members, our Portuguese institutions, the Center of Studies of Sociology that is here, the INESC, the Institute of Molecular Biology, and the Institute of Molecular Research. And we have a very interesting practical exercise in RRI that I'm going to challenge you all to do it. Because engaging with science and engaging with research is not just about words, it's about physical engagement. I would like to remind you the words of Nietzsche, a famous German philosopher that I love, And he wrote, "I only believe in people who write with their blood." So we have here an RRI project, or related to, which will ask for your blood. So I would wonder how far you go in your engagement with science, to the point of giving you not very much. It's just a sample of blood. And why are you going to give that sample of blood? Because it will be part of research. That data, that blood, will be analyzed, compared with blood from other people all around Europe. It's part of an European and worldwide project. And then you will learn also important things about responsible research, that you have to give your informed consent. You will sign. If you have a problem with your blood, you will be contacted. And that's a way of preventing any problem. Also, you will have the possibility to open access scientific information that will be put on the database and on the website of the project. So please follow that project, and follow that project with your blood. Thank you.